What's up, guys? Hive Consultant here. It's been a bit since my last video. Thank you to everyone who replied, left comments for some of the discussions. Had quite a few interesting opinions. The last video I was discussing incentives for burning Hive. Talked about what is burning, the mechanism of sending a Hive token to the @null account, which doesn't have a spendable output. Therefore, it is basically destroying the token. Discuss a little bit about the value of burning tokens, the possible waste of burning tokens. Yeah, I did pretty good. I feel like it was a well-received video. Even if you don't necessarily agree with burning a token or burning Hive, the thing I noticed is that there's really not a lot of burning going on anyways. So that video I was discussing some incentives for burning Hive. You could do that multiple ways. You could reward people with tokens. My idea was to reward people with a possible permanent Hive power. Which would be PHP, permanent Hive power. Originally I was thinking to call it burned Hive power, BHP, but then that makes it sound like you're destroying Hive power, which makes no sense. So I thought PHP, permanent Hive power. But yeah, it was a good discussion. It led to quite a few opinions for it, against it, possible ways that it could be abused. We discussed different ways you could possibly code that in the comment sections. And trying to remember, there was one comment that stuck out. Oh, I know what it was. One of the guys had said, would that not lead to an incentive for selling accounts? And my response to him was, well, you can sell an account now. You can liquidate any Hive power or Hive back dollars you have and sell the account blank, or you could load it up with Hive power, Hive back dollars, and sell it loaded. So you can sell an account now. So I really don't think there would be that big of a difference. You know, if anything, maybe there's a market for selling your account, but I honestly think that it would be the opposite. If you have permanent Hive power tied to your account, you are more committed to the Hive ecosystem than if you have Hive power that you can power down and liquidate and leave Hive. So it's a risk versus reward. You'd really have to give some incentives of what Hive power does over, permanent Hive power does over regular Hive power that you can liquidate and power down. But you know, I thought if you really wanted to affect the total market cap, you know, that you could offer some sort of reward. And even if it's not permanent Hive power, maybe that's something where you reward them with a token that does something else. But anyways, thanks for everyone that liked that, shared it, commented on it. Tonight, what I've been thinking about lately is what will Hive's role be in the next bull run? And really, let me expand on that even more. I won't even say in the next bull run. Rather than thinking about it from a investment perspective, let's just think about it from a different perspective. What will Hive's role be in the next economic collapse or Great Depression? I mean, we're kind of getting after the Bitcoin halving. I mean, think about it. How crazy is it that the Bitcoin halving that usually precedes the bull run happened at the same time as the coronavirus, and around the same time of the Federal Reserve printing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to bail people out, bail businesses out, give stimulus checks. It's very strange. And not to be a conspiracy theorist, but how convenient is it that the Federal Reserve has an excuse, that these politicians have an excuse? I'm not sure after 2008, 2009 financial crisis, with all the bailouts of big banks, I'm not sure how receptive the American people for sure would have been on bailouts. So it is kind of convenient, don't you think? And you can say, oh, well, it's a virus, it's a pandemic, it's an emergency. You're right, I get it. But at the same time, the media has been flooded for the last 4 years that we had Trump's greatest economy ever. And most people in the crypto space, I think we tend to have a different opinion about that. It's not saying everyone, but I know quite a few people that would disagree with Trump's greatest economy ever. And that's not to be political, but it's true. We all know that these numbers can be manipulated as far as unemployment. We know why the stock market has been up on a 10-year bull run with quantitative easing stemming from 2008, 2009. So one of the things that was very surprising was how quickly we saw a pandemic, a world event, something coming in, because if you remember last year, the repo market, I mean, you're talking about 0% interest. You can't raise rates. When they tried to raise rates and clear the Fed's balance sheet in 2018, it didn't work. You had the repo market failing, so they effectively started doing bailout. The repo markets were being bailed out already prior to the coronavirus, last September, last October. So things were not as financially stable as what they'd have you believe when they say Trump's greatest economy ever. And that leads me to the actual thing I would like to discuss. What role is Hive going to play, not only in the next bull market, but in a possible financial collapse, recession, depression, whatever comes out of this coronavirus mess? The thing you have to think about is, if you look at the first bailout and everyone gets a $1,200 check, at least most people, small businesses and even not so small businesses get huge loans, much of which does not have to be paid back. And that is just round one. You already hear the rumors about a second lockdown this fall. We're already discussing the second stimulus check. And I wouldn't be surprised, depending on what happens between now and November, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to sneak in one last stimulus right before the election. Because really neither party has began the mudslinging yet. But in the next month or two, you're going to see the mudslinging begin. If Biden is chosen, and who knows who his vice president nominee is going to be, but Biden is going to get mopped. Trump is going to mop the floor with Biden in a debate. He is going to attack. And I think with all the stuff you see with the child predators, pedophilia, Pizzagate, I mean, he's a good target with all the pictures you see of him groping women, groping little girls. I think they're going to sling that right back at Trump. All the talk about him and Jeffrey Epstein and all this other stuff. I mean, I think it's going to get ugly. But before it even gets ugly, I think you're going to see definitely one probably in the next month or so. I think next Friday the 7th is when the Congress is supposed to decide about this next stimulus, and if they don't, it would push it out to September, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know. Maybe they'll try to sneak a second one in. We'll see. But no matter what they do with stimulus, and maybe they don't do any stimulus, maybe they don't agree, and it just pushes us faster into what would be a recession or possibly a depression. But here's the thing, whether it comes this fall, whether it comes next year, man, how crazy would that be if you saw the stock market plummet, you saw unemployment skyrocket even more? I don't think the government and the Fed has any choice but to print. But how funny would that be to have all this going on next year in the middle of the biggest cryptocurrency bull run that we've ever seen? All right, so now to get back on topic, I think that not only Hive, but in a broader sense, I believe that Hive and staking blockchains, either POS, DPoS, Tezos, LPoS, liquid proof of stake, I think those are going to be some of the biggest booms that we see in this next run. They would have been regardless. But in an economy that is plummeting, people need somewhere to run. And whether they're investors and they will need somewhere to get out of the stock market and move their money to make some sort of return, not only can staking coins value of the token appreciate, but then they earn their staking reward. And some of these percentages are crazy, 7 to 10%. I mean, you can't get that in hardly any regular markets. So from a financial investor standpoint, I think staking tokens are going to be pretty crazy. But the general public, people who are not investment savvy, people who are lower income, they have zero money to invest to begin with. They don't invest in the regular market. They're all losing their jobs, or right now they're staying at home working for a much higher unemployment. Some of them make more than what they make actually working. And that's where I think Hive can be a huge winner. I mean, if you have no money and you have no job, but you have time, I mean, word for things like Hive will get out fast because people are going to be desperate, and all the people that wouldn't listen to you when the economy was great, when they had a job, I mean, they're going to be much more likely to listen to you now because they're going to be struggling, they're going to be hurting, they're going to be in situations where they have to do something. They will try anything. Now, is that going to see an increase in things that we don't like, such as crime? Of course. But not everyone's a criminal, even in the worst situations. Not everyone goes that route. The thing is everyone understands social media. And when they have nowhere else to turn to make money, and the word starts to get around that you can post and curate content, even if they're not a content creator, they're going to be clawing, they're going to be commenting, they're going to be sharing content, they're going to be interacting. I do believe that Hive will be one of the easiest points of entries for the people who have no money to invest. They're going to do it the old-fashioned way and get out there and earn it. And like every other new person that we see come to the platform, they either get advice, learn the right way, or they tend to experiment with some of the wrong ways as far as flooding comments with advertising, self-upvoting, plagiarism, and all that mess. But none of that matters. What matters is adoption is likely to skyrocket out of necessity. And I truly believe that. I've had one or two people ask me about Hive that totally ignored me the first time I brought it up. And that's kind of what got me thinking about this was, well, what changed? For most of them, those two specifically, they just have more time and they're making less money. So that got me to thinking that, you know, this could be a good thing for the Hive blockchain, for the Hive community. We might see an explosive growth of new users, even in a market where people may have less money to invest. And overall, I think that'll be a good thing. I mean, it'll give people hope. It'll give people the ability to earn some additional income. And at the current Hive prices, it may not seem like a lot of income, but we all know when we saw $8 plus Steam, you saw the potential. So the question is can Hive match what Steam's previous all-time high was? Can it pass it? Could we see a potential double-digit Hive, maybe 10, 12 bucks? I can't imagine 20, but you know how crypto is. But yeah, that's just the thoughts I've had. And then, like any other thing, once they're introduced to the ecosystem on Hive, they will probably begin to learn more about crypto in general, more about Bitcoin, more about staking coins. So the potential, if they're earning a little bit of Hive, to trade some over to Cardano, trade some over to Cosmos, to Tezos, insert any selection of staking coins you want so that they can begin to earn interest, would be a possibility. Although I would say that's probably going to be more likely the people who already are smart investors and they've got money to actually stake and save. I believe there could be a pretty big drive on Hive to cash out as much as they can because they're going to need the actual liquid Hive token to help pay some bills. But nonetheless, it'll be a good time. I really think that we live in a very special time in history. Who knows how all this is going to turn out, but we will see. So hit me up in the comments below. Please give me a follow, hive.consultant. If you like this content and find it valuable, give me an upvote. And feel free to join the discussion. I'd like to hear what you guys think. Do you think that the upcoming economic crisis, potential next Great Depression, recession at least, is that going to lead to bigger things for Hive? Will Hive be one of the easiest points of entry for new users, for people who know nothing about crypto and who are now jobless and desperate? I think it could be. Tell me what you think. See you guys.